Hey, everybody. It is Kelly Nielsen here, and you have landed on Grace for Living After Loss. On this channel, we discuss all things related to grief. What does it look like? What does it feel like? But most importantly for you, we share tips, tools, and resources on how you can move through grief and get back to living a life that you love. I'm so excited today for so many reasons, but today we are doing one of our testimonial videos for one of our fabulous clients that worked with one of our coaches and went through the one-on-one program to share her story about just what that experience was like. And then we have a little bit of a plot twist surprise at the end, which we will talk about at the end. But I'm so thrilled to have Vicki Turpinning with us today. Thank you so much for being here, Vicki.
Thanks for having me, Kelly. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, I always love chatting with you. And for those of you that are regulars on our channel, you may have seen Vicki in an earlier video when we spoke about her loss and just the experience of loss before she went through our program. So you can also feel free to check out that video to hear more about her loss story. But we want to start with that, Vicki, for folks who didn't see your other video. Just share with people who it is that you lost, when it was, and just kind of the circumstances around that.
So last July, I lost my husband very unexpectedly to stage 4 cancer. He had been diagnosed less than 2 months prior. So last July being July 2023, we had no idea that he was sick. It came as a shock and a surprise and started me down on a road of what they call anticipatory grief. And within 2 months, he passed away from complications. And then that began my walk here as a widow.
Yeah. Wow. And I remember correctly, they had initially told you thought that you would have more time. Was that right?
Yeah. So initially, the oncologist said that we were probably looking at between 1 and 3 years. So that's what we were planning for, is to have managing his care and hopefully taking some trips and being very intentional with our time. He unfortunately had some complications that they were just not able to get under control. And that's ultimately what he ended up passing away from. So while we were intentional with our time, and we had a lot, we left nothing unsaid. We had a lot of conversations about what was happening and the peace that he had about it and what he wanted for me in my life once he was gone. That brought me a tremendous amount of peace, because a lot of people, they don't get that with their people that depart. They get saddled with lots of regrets and coulda, woulda, shouldas, or perhaps they left on, not the best conversation, or there was some unresolved conflict. So it was a blessing that I didn't have to, work through that mentally.
Yeah. And that is a blessing. I always like to talk about both sides of the coin, because I think it's such a trap. And so many of us can fall into that comparative place, right? Where we're going to compare our loss to other people's loss. And if you're comparing, you've already lost, right? Like if you're saying that, well, mine is harder or mine was easier because I didn't have this, like that kind of defeats the purpose. Because yes, and I've been in that situation when my grandma passed. We had about 6 weeks with her, and what a gift to be able to say everything you want to say and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, it's really hard to watch someone you love be in pain and suffering and like deteriorating right in front of your eyes, right? So it's a mixed bag. And while some ways it's easier, there's other ways that it's harder, right? So we're here to say that all grief is hard. All grief requires work on the other side of it, And so but I appreciate you sharing that, because that is something that you're afforded when you have a little bit of time, is that opportunity to have those conversations, for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, because I remember while he was sick, every day I would just pray to God for the strength to deal with it, because it's imminent, but you don't know when. And it just takes strength that I can't even describe. And it really made me appreciate people who are caregivers for years. They deal with this for many, many years, and it takes strength and stamina.
Yeah. And maybe that, I was going to ask the question, maybe that's the answer, but I was going to ask, what did you find most surprising or most disturbing? The thing that you were like, wait, nobody told me about this. Like, what sticks out to you?
Oh God, many things.
Yeah.
So the first one that popped in my mind was all of the secondary losses that occur, especially for widows. Um, you lose so much, and you don't really realize it right at the time because you're grieving the person that you lost and having to plan a service. You have lots of people around, your phone's blowing up. But as things quiet down, you realize your whole identity is changing. And a lot of people have like likened it to an amputee, feeling like part of you has been amputated or feeling hollow. So you have to figure out who you are without that person now, that person who you spent so much time with, you shared a bed with, they were, most people, their spouse is their best friend. And in my case, mine was, we spent a lot of time together and we were very happy in our marriage. So to just all of a sudden one day not have that anymore and then try to put the pieces back together, I had no idea how complex and complicated that was going to be. But the flip side of that is through this program, I was able to accelerate that more than I ever expected.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. I was gonna ask, so tell me about initially in the loss and how and when you found us in your recovery journey and what it was about us that had you decide to want to work with us.
I think I found your YouTube channel sometime in November, like shortly before the Thanksgiving holiday. I had gone back to work and realized pretty quickly that I just wasn't in the best headspace mentally. And part of that was from the whole sympathy network, we'll call it, where you show up for grief support, and it's just like the trauma and the sympathy Olympics, and everybody's living their loss, and that really for me was not helpful. I wanted to move through it, and I wanted to know, how do I move forward? I don't want to talk about this every week.
Right.
I don't want to look at memes or get little bites of scripture. I needed more constructive tools and to understand what in the world was going on with me psychologically, physiologically, your brain. Grief affects many aspects, of you, not just the sadness that people think of, but it's really hard on your body, it's hard on your brain. And with so much swirling around you and inside of you, you just can't take it all in because it's too much. So I started searching for things, anything that was different, anything that was hopeful or forward looking. And I ran across your YouTube channel, and that whole weekend, I watched most every video on the YouTube channel. And it really resonated with me. It was what I wanted. That was what Michael wanted for me. That's what I wanted for myself. Set up a call with you, and then here we are now.
And here we are now. So talk to me about going through the process and remind me when it is. And you worked with Coach Janelle, and she's fabulous. So talk to me about, and you went through our Grief Relief Accelerator program, which is a 12-week, and it's a very focused, intentional process and path that you go through. So talk to me about what was that like for you?
I went with the one-on-one coaching route just because I knew me that I'm not a self-service type of person when I'm in crisis. Just not wired that way. I need more accountability and more application direct to me, and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
But, for me to try to figure so much out all on my own, I wasn't really motivated enough to do it all on my own. I kind of wanted someone to spoon feed me a little more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was worth every penny because I got
Mhm.
my life and my mental health back in a very short period of time. And that's not to say that I still don't have bad days.
Right.
They're just fewer and further apart.
Yeah.
And they don't last as long either. And I can usually identify pretty quickly what's causing it. It's usually I've neglected my self-care, or there's a date rolling around on the calendar that I need to develop some sort of plan for. Or it could just be that it's a grief ambush and that I need to set aside time to, sometimes you just have to cry it out. You can't stuff it and move on and have it go away. You have to actually process it and release it.
Yeah. We were just talking about that today, and I think that's such a good, one of the best gifts of going through these traumas for me is that I know myself really, really well. Like I know what my margins are, what my capacity is. I also know when my soul needs expression. I know when I just need to sit and have some reflection time or whatever. I just have learned myself really, really well. And so that's one of the things that I most treasure, that I've developed kind of over time. But I wanted to ask, what is one or maybe two, like what were kind of some big aha moments or like perspective shift or shifts that you experienced or acknowledged as you went through the process?
So the first one that comes to mind is discovering the lies that I had unwittingly partnered with. Things like, oh, this is horrible and I'll never recover from this, I'll never be the same. Parts of that are true. I'm not going to be the same.
Right.
I am no longer Michael's wife. He is in heaven. God has given me new purpose. I've met a whole lot of new people, made new friends. So that's natural that you're not going to be the same, but that doesn't have to be tied to pain and anguish and I need to sit in my house and feel sorry for myself. That is not true. And a lot of times this advice or the memes that are floating around sound very logical, and it's easy to take that in and start to believe it when really it's not true.
Yeah. We definitely are against the grain here. Like we're very definitely countercultural and we're not in line with what the masses say, but we also are not trying to get the result that the masses get. We are for the few that would dare to believe that there's something better, that would dare to believe that there is in fact life after loss and you can still have a rich, full, rewarding, joy-filled life, right? And so yeah, and we have to learn to be careful. I always used to say when Quentin died, my son died, people would come up to me all the time and say, for some reason, they all said the same thing. Like, I don't know how you get out of bed in the morning. So if I had a nickel for every person who said to me, I don't know how you get out of bed every morning. And it's like, if we're not careful, if I would have listened to those people, I would be in bed right now and we wouldn't be talking and whatever. We have to learn to not accept what other people try to put on us or would say about us or for us. Because the truth is too, a lot of people are speaking into our lives who have not been through loss. So they're just projecting their worst fear. They're imagining that if it happened to them, they might not be able to get out of bed. But the truth is they don't know because it didn't happen to them. So, right. But this muscle, this ability to be able to choose for ourselves what thoughts we're going to believe and come into agreement with and build a life going forward is just vital. And
Yep.
You're right that the enemy comes in. He's not creative. He's been doing this since the beginning of time. His favorite thing to do is to come in at points of trauma and plant seeds of doubt, plant seeds of questioning. He wants to plant these little lies that might even be logical, right? And then we come into agreement with them without realizing that we're actually building a barricade for our healing. And so yeah, that is a common experience with, virtually everyone we work with is inevitably a couple lies hanging out in there that they didn't even realize had snuck their way in and were taking up residence. Yeah.
I heard a lot of, oh, you're still young enough to meet someone else.
Right.
Which, thank you for the compliment, but that doesn't fix this.
Right.
And nobody else can fix this. Nobody else can help me bear this loss. Janelle obviously helped me immensely, but I had to do the work and I'm the one living it. No one else is living it, even if you do meet someone else, or take a trip or buy a car, or you do whatever. Those are things that you can do, but it's not going to fix where you're at. You actually have to fix wherever you're at.
Yeah, 100%. I say all the time, trauma is not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. 100%. Like it may have happened to you, but now you have to be the one to decide to move forward. And the scripture that I always resonate with is the one that says that each heart knows its own bitterness and none can share in its joy. So we individually carry the hurts of our life, but the opposite side of that promise is our heart also uniquely, individually experiences the joys of life as well. So as much as we have to contend with these hurts and disappointments individually and personally, we also can experience great joys and elation, and that is also a personal experience, right? So I
Oh,
just love all of
absolutely.
this stuff. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's share the exciting news, if you're watching this video, that Vicky actually is in the process of becoming a coach on our team. I'm so thrilled about that. So talk to me about why you made that choice. Why do you feel compelled to want to help other people?
A number of reasons. When Michael became ill, he was 4.5 years into seminary. And I had some moments of anger, why God would call him to seminary. He gets almost all the way, he wanted to be a teacher, and he was probably months away from starting down that path. Why then? Why at all? All of our family and friends were asking that same question too. Like Michael had some sort of, get out of suffering free card because he went to seminary, and that's not the case. One of the earliest words that we have gotten, both of us had received separately, and I know to non-believers this may sound strange, but think of this as like intuition if you don't believe in the Holy Spirit. We both felt very strongly that we were supposed to share this and share it with others. And the resounding was far and wide. And we both were like, really? We're supposed to tell everybody, what's going on when we haven't even sorted this out ourselves. And we had gotten some direction about writing a book. And my natural assumption was, well, Michael's the one with the degree in theological studies. He would be the one writing the book, not me. So that was how I interpreted that word. And Michael was really never able to, he just never was well enough to do a whole lot of work on the book. He made some notes and some outlines that I have. And that's something that I felt convicted to do as part of this. The further I got into this, though, I started encountering more and more people. And I'm sure you and others that have experienced loss have had the same experience where people who have walked through grief and trauma will seek you out to talk to you because they know that you know.
Yeah,
And there, you can try to explain this to other people, what it's like and how you change, and it's almost really impossible to find the words just
yeah,
because of there's just much about you that changes, and is just never the same again. But there are blessings that come out of it. It's not to say that it makes your loss okay, or that you're like, oh yay.
yeah,
It makes it bearable until that new purpose and what your new life is supposed to be, and you start to carry that person with you. Like the love doesn't end, it just kind of transforms and changes. you
yeah,
know I still feel very much married some days, just my husband is in heaven, and I still love him, and I know that he loves me, and I know that we'll get to spend eternity together. So in talking to all these people, one day I think I had calculated between like coworkers, people that I know professionally, personally, family members, friends, classmates, whatnot. In the last 6 to 8 months, I've probably had no less than 600 or 700 conversations about grief and what
wow.
this is like. And people will share their stories, what they went through and how they got through it. And the majority of people um, still have some sort of grief resolution that they need to work through. There's areas that they're stuck or still causing them great pain.
Right.
And at first that terrified me because I thought, oh my gosh, this is the lot I drew in life.
Right.
But people just don't know what to do because we're not taught how
Right.
to, we're not even taught how to talk about all this, let alone how to get through it. It's, make a casserole and say some nice things, and 2 weeks later you're expected to start, just powering through and stop talking about it. And that's not, that just kind of cements that you're going to be stuck in grief.
Just wait, Vicky, just wait until you're a grief coach and you go and speak places and or events and you introduce yourself as a grief coach. It instantly is a license and permission for everyone in the room. They feel compelled to come share with you their loss story, because those that know, you don't know until you know, right? Like, it's a rite of passage that you don't. That's why I'm so passionate about those of us who've been through it, helping those that are going through it. Because for me, I didn't want to go sit with a counselor who read something out of a book and was going to give me advice. Like, for better or worse, I was like, unless you have wrestled this beast that I am wrestling, I don't really care what you have to say. But yes, I go to many events and hear stories, and it shocks me. I guess I'm used to it now, how many people it's been, how long, and they're still very much in the same place as when it happened. They still really haven't progressed in their recovery journey or healing journey. I had a woman at a networking event that she had her sister 10 years prior, and she couldn't talk about it without crying. Like, she was crying. She started like kind of weeping in this middle of this networking event. And I was trying to comfort her. And I'm like, how have we failed as a society if that's the case, that this woman has gone around for 10 years and has not found something that works that would help her? So I know we're on a soapbox now and we're digressing. So I want to give you the opportunity to speak to future clients. Like, if people are stumbling across this video and they're contemplating working with us in any kind of capacity and wanting to get hope, like, what is your highest hope for your clients, people that are considering working with us? Like, what would you say to them?
That it's possible to recover from grief, and that you can still miss and love your people that have gone on before us without pain. And that's whether you're a Christian, or a non-Christian. I can also go down the Christian route of what scripture says about grief and mourning, and that this is not a life sentence. Yes, we have lost, whoever, my case, my husband, my parents have also passed away. That's the state for the rest of my life. But that doesn't mean that I have to sit in my house in pain, 24/7 because that happened. And when you look at the scripture, that's not what God wants for us either. That's that's how the world has set up, this sympathy support network that doesn't help you move forward. It doesn't give you the tools to move forward. It might help you when you're in crisis initially, but you have to quickly move off sympathy, especially if you've had some sort of traumatic loss where there's lots of trauma associated around the person who died. That was the case with my husband. I had to do a lot of hard things that, we all go through hard things, and they often leave a little imprint that we need to deal with and process because they don't go away.
Yeah.
And all of that is possible to process that. So, that kind of stuff I can talk about now. And it's almost like I'm a reporter stating facts and information, but I don't feel it like I used to. Before, when I would talk about it, I would feel like I was reliving it. I was back there again. Where now it's just information that might help someone else.
I love that. And that is, if y'all are watching this video and not familiar, that is what our program does, right? It's very neurologically based to help break down those reactive thought cycles, trauma loops that set off all sorts of bells and whistles in your body, and it almost becomes involuntary. It just sort of happens to you, right? But there is a way and a system to interrupt those things so they stop happening to you, so that you can have the ability to interrupt them when they do come and build up defenses so that they don't come as often. And so I love that you're walking in that right now. And Vicki, I just know that so many people and families are going to be blessed by the work that you do with us. And I'm super excited to hear of their I'm so excited to film their first testimonial video and be able to hear of their victory and freedom and how they're living life differently now because of you saying yes to the call. You know, it's really easy to just kind of get your own healing and move along with your life. You would have every right to do that. But to get your own healing and say, no, there are other people that need this help. Not everybody knows about this. Not everybody knows that this is available to them. And I'm going to be one of the ones to help set others free. I applaud it. I salute it. I thank you for saying yes to it. And I know that so many people are going to be blessed because of it. So we're thrilled. We're thrilled to have you here. And if you're watching this video, we will put links below that you can hop on a call with somebody over at our team, and potentially Vicki herself at some point will be handling those calls. But you can chat with us to learn more about our programs, whether it's one-on-one coaching or small group coaching or a monthly program. We have programs and at every price point because we never want price to be an obstacle for people getting the freedom that they're looking to get. If you cross our paths, we guarantee that we have every tool, resource, and program to get you free from grief and loss and suffering, to get back to living a life that you love.
Yeah.
All right,
and
friends.
I'll echo that too. When you're in deep mourning and deep grief, it is hard to make decisions and, and decipher things and how much does things cost. Just make the phone call and have Kelly or somebody walk you through this, because it is possible to feel better. Through this, I've learned that feelings are not the best barometer to go by because our feelings are not always accurate and they can lie to us, but that you don't have to sit in suffering and, just kind of swirl the drain. It's possible to feel better rather quickly. You do have to put the work into this program, and it's not easy. It's I was telling a friend of mine that this is not like watching an Oprah episode and then, oh, I feel better, I'm healed, I'm cured. You actually have to do the work, and it's some weeks it's really intensive and it's tough, but if you just push through, you quickly come out the other side and you start to see the pieces falling into place. And it doesn't take years. It
Right.
takes just weeks.
Right. That's so good. And that's so true. And one thing I was just thinking about the other day is if you think about what is the most valuable asset you have, it's you. It's me. I am the most valuable asset that I own. And there's only one of me, right? And so my well-being, my ability to produce, my ability to create, my ability to enjoy life, like that's all contained within me. And so making an investment in you is the best place that you can put any money. And if you're not doing that, the flip side of that coin is, what is it costing you to not get better? How is your, let's just talk work productivity, but let's talk about your quality of life, your relationships, your ability to even not just survive life, but enjoy life. Like all of these things have a cost, because for most people, if they're grieving and they're not dealing with it, maybe they're eating out more, maybe they're drinking alcohol, maybe they're retail therapy, whatever it is, we're all trying to comfort ourselves in one way. Why don't we focus those resources to something that's actually going to resolve the problem instead of just perpetually putting band-aids over it? Okay, that's my pitch. That's my soapbox. But if you take anything, like, you are the most valuable asset you own, and your recovery is worth it. And not only your recovery is not just for you. It's not just about you leading a more comfortable, fulfilling life. That will happen, but your recovery is for your children, for your family, for your friends, for your community, for your workplace. Like, we all need you to recover. And so I just hope and pray, if you're watching this video, that you would find the courage and strength to reach out and get more information and whatever avenue that looks like. And honestly, whether it's with us or not with us, that you would not stop looking until you find the right tool, and you would work that as long as it takes until you are recovered. Because to Vicky's point, she's a living example that it is possible. So, all right, we need to end because I feel like we could just go on and on and on. But we will have links below if you're watching this video. We'll have ways that you can connect with us to learn more. And we hope that if nothing else, you've seen yet another example of someone who did recover, and you would find hope for your own grief recovery journey. Until next time, guys, we will see you.